Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Anchor of Hope. Thank you for joining us this morning. I am Dr. Esther Park, and we really hope that today will be another valuable time of expanding not only our psychological knowledge on today's topic, but also to be able to integrate it with the good news of Jesus. And today we're going to continue our series on relationships and how we are affected by various issues in our relationships. So if you missed our previous session in this series, you can watch it on our YouTube channel called Oak Hill Foundation Anchor of Hope, or on our website. And we reviewed thus far self-awareness, expectations, effective communication skills, conflict resolution, boundaries. And today we're going to talk about social media and how that has affected our relationships, good and bad. It's so interesting to me that this would not have been a topic of relationship seminar series like a couple decades ago. But the advent of Facebook and then all the others that came after that, now we're seeing this as an area that will affect our relationships. So today we're going to introduce Dr. Alyssa Lucas. She's coming back to talk with us again about this topic, presenting the psychological aspects of this topic. And then thereafter, we will have a group discussion time, Q&A time, which will not be in our recordings. So if you're watching us through YouTube, please join us live on Zoom next time if you'd like to participate in those very dynamic discussions. So Dr. Alyssa Lucas, we'll give the floor to you.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, I am going to share my screen here. Fix that. Well, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about social media. And I want to just preface this discussion with, this isn't a way to get you to stop using social media or to think it's bad or anything like that. I think it's just a new dynamic that has come into our world that sort of shocked everybody at first. And it kind of went from zero social media to now 10 different platforms. This is the way that we're, living life. So I think it kind of came really quickly, and a lot of us are unsure how to navigate social media and continue to have healthy relationships and connection with those that we care about. So I just want to go a little bit more into how to reflect on the way that social media is hindering our relationships and how it's actually creating healthy connection, because I think there's a very fine line, and it can go back and forth pretty quickly. So that's more of what I wanted to discuss today. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, how does social media affect our relationships? And I want to give you this sort of question to open things up and to think about during this discussion. And so we can kind of talk about it right after this part of the presentation in our discussion section. But and this is the question I want you to think about. It's actually, this comes at a perfect time, because did anyone experience the Instagram and Facebook outage twice this week? Yep, I noticed it. I don't know if you guys did. My guess is yes, but I want to say it was Monday and Thursday maybe. Anyways, one of the questions I want to ask is, what did this bring up for you? What did this social media outage bring up for you? Did it bring a sense of relief? Like, it's kind of nice that I don't have to worry about seeing what other people are doing or posting on Instagram or something like that. Oh gosh, it gives me some space to breathe. Or was it like, oh my goodness, I'm so anxious. Maybe for one reason or another, we're trying to do our jobs. A lot of our responsibilities for our jobs and careers rely on social media. So was that anxiety provoking for some people that, weren't able to to do their jobs properly on those days? Or was it anxiety because, oh my gosh, now I feel like I'm not connected to my people. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what to do with myself if I don't have social media. So I want you to kind of keep that question in mind of how you experienced that or might experience that. So what comes up for you? And then we'll talk about how to self-reflect and create a healthy relationship and healthy boundaries with social media so it is not impacting our relationships in a negative way. So again, this list, we want to talk about pros and cons, right? Because social media is not all negative. There are really fantastic um, uh, things about social media. One is excitement. We might be seeing a video or an announcement from a dear friend that we maybe haven't spoken to or we don't get the chance to talk to all the time on the phone, and we can see something or hear something that we're really excited for them, and we might rekindle a friendship or a relationship that maybe we lost touch, because it can be easy to do in our busy lives. So that might be a pro, right? Of keeping us excited and connected. And that connection piece is, I think, a lot of why social media was created in the first place. Again, our fast-paced lives often don't let us have time, as much time as we would like to connect with the important people in our lives. And sort of shifting gears to a couple of the cons is maybe that comparison. We start to notice, oh, my relationship isn't in the same place as my best friend from high school or whatever it might be. Or, oof, my career isn't quite where that person's is, and now I'm starting to feel bad about myself. And I actually want to come back to this comparison piece in a little bit once we shift over to a little bit of the mental health challenges with social media. But sometimes that comparison can lead to unrealistic expectations. And because again, a lot of times what happens on social media, I think we all know this, is people show us what they want us to see. And we're seeing a lot of exciting trips and relationship milestones, which is fantastic. And sometimes it gives us unrealistic expectations about our own life, and we're sort of trying to measure up or things like that. And insecurity, it can often create some insecurity in ourselves, in our relationships, in our work, which definitely can affect any relationship that we're in. When we feel insecure, what do? We try to defend ourselves or put up a wall or something to protect ourselves, and it might take a massive toll on our relationships. And that jealousy piece, that could create, again, a lot of disconnect with our intimate relationships, whether it could be a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, things like that. And disengagement. I don't know about you guys, but how many times have we gone? I don't know, this is just my own experience probably, but going out to dinner and seeing a table next to you with a family of, I don't know, 4 people, and they're all on their phones, whether they're looking at the menu or not, because I know the menus are all digital these days. That's so hard for me, but it's just the way things are going. So it's kind of interesting, and it makes me be a little more cognizant of what I'm doing when I'm out with a partner or family or friends. Like, maybe I would like to put my phone in my purse, or how could I utilize social media and stay engaged and in the present. So one of the other pros is learning from experts. I love this piece of social media. There is so much information out there on that people put for free on social media, whether it's again, relationship experts, psychologists, any other mental health professional. Just there's so much information to be shared out there of how to better our connections and communication. And so that's really useful. I love that. Communal support. There's a lot of resources out there to help support us when we're going through a difficult time, whether it's, again, relationships or with mental health, anything. There's literally, we can find so much out there. And so it's very, very useful. I think one of the key pieces, though, is to be able to weed out what's positive and helpful, and which leads to the next point of empowerment. So what is empowering versus what is making us feel bad about ourselves? I think there's a big difference between that, and there are those resources out there that help with empowerment and inclusion rather than shame and making us feel bad about ourselves. So I really want you to think about all of these aspects of how social media affects our relationships and which ones sort of ring true for you. Because if we're falling into comparison, unrealistic expectations, insecurity, jealousy, how is that affecting our ability to connect with the people closest to us? All right, so I'm going to go into a little bit into the research. I'm not going to go in depth into the research, but I do think this is important because again, social media is not going anywhere anytime soon. So if we can figure out how to use it to our advantage to create solid relationships, to boost our self-esteem, that's fantastic. Again, the research on this subject has flown through the roof over these last few years. Like Dr. Esther said earlier in the discussion, it over the last 10, 15 years has become a massive part of our culture. And so it's not going anywhere. So let's learn about it. Social media has definitely been found to positively and negatively affect relationships depending on how much it's used. I don't know if you guys get this notification on your phone, but the iPhone tends to tell you, I think once a week, how much your screen time usage is. And sometimes I look at that number and I'm like, holy moly, that is wild. Okay, I need to rein it in a little bit. And also creating this presentation really had me self-reflect on the amount that I am using social media, because I think if we use it to the extent to where we're looking at things that empower us, or we're really using it to connect with others, that can be fantastic. When we tend to overuse and indulge and get into this black hole of social media, that's where it can really negatively affect our relationships. So one of the studies found that increased social media usage could lead to more relationship problems, infidelity, and even divorce. Again, this is all the research that people have done. And my guess is people in that research study had been divorced. So yes, that might have been a contributing factor. Again, I want to just remind you guys that it's not always the case. This is some of the research that has been done. And there are ways to prevent against that. There are ways to talk to our partners or our friends or our family members about how to set those healthy boundaries with social media. So another study in 2013 found that among couples who had been together less than 3 years, spending more time on Facebook was linked with more Facebook-related conflict and more negative relationship outcomes. And I have a feeling we've all experienced this at some point, of whether it's, disagreement on a political post, or not agreeing with our friends or our family members or our loved ones on specific topics on Facebook. And it can definitely create a heated argument. And so again, a little bit later, this is just the research. So in a couple minutes, I'll talk about how to create some of those healthy healthy ways to navigate social media and relationships. So another study found that for those who are dating people who overshare on social media reported lower relationship satisfaction. I also think this is an interesting discussion or interesting topic because sometimes we notice a lot of times social media is used as a platform to show all the fantastic things that happen in our lives. And sometimes we have the intention of sharing real life situations and just helping people understand that we're human. And sometimes that can tend to go the other way of oversharing, of sharing more than we anticipate, which might make somebody else feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so there's a very fine line of how can we present as human and show real life, and um, how is it interpreted as oversharing? So we can talk a little bit about that in a few minutes also. In 2017, a survey found, this is kind of shifting gears here. A survey found that 39% of heterosexual couples reported meeting their partner online, compared to 22% in 2009. I think this is important because, again, the internet, social media isn't going anywhere. And if we're able to use it to our advantage of meeting a romantic partner or creating connection that is healthy and brings joy to our lives, this can be awesome. That's a great way to use social media platforms. And makes sense. Study indicated that young adults in long distance romantic relationships are better able to maintain them if using social media sites. And this study talked about how couples can send, or it doesn't have to be a couple, a romantic couple, it can be a friend or family member, sending funny memes throughout the day that lift up somebody's spirits. Like those types of things can really enhance connection and healthy relationships. So let's talk about social media and mental health. Some of the things that can be affected or in more of a negative way, depression, anxiety, loneliness, body image issues, poor self-esteem, narcissistic traits, which is an interesting piece, I'll get to that, and social comparison that leads to sort of this like negative bias, and we'll come back to that in a sec. But the first thing I want to point out is that loneliness. I think sometimes if we are using social media platforms to just get sort of stuck in again, falling down that black hole of just going, looking at everything that everybody else is doing, we might get this sense of FOMO, like the fear of missing out on certain things, especially if you notice like, wow, a group of 4 of my friends just went to dinner last night and I wasn't invited. Like, wow, that really hurts our feelings. And the body image issues. There are so many posts out there and things that we see online that are photoshopped or are using a filter. And sometimes if we are in a space of vulnerability, we could look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I don't look like that. Now I feel bad about myself, which again affects that self-esteem. And then the narcissistic traits. I'm not saying social media is causing narcissistic personality disorder. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is it tends to sometimes bring out some narcissistic traits in some people, as we really want to post things to feed our ego, to make us feel better. Oh my goodness, if somebody else sees that I'm on the most extravagant vacation, how many likes am I going to get? And then I'm going to feel good about myself. So it sort of pulls those traits from us. And sometimes I have to say, like, oh, I just want people to know that I'm doing really well, even if I'm not. Sometimes that we're using social media to build our self-esteem, which is, again, not a super healthy way to do that, because it's a little bit more artificial than actually, not a little bit, it is more artificial than actually taking steps to build our self-esteem. And that social comparison, a lot of times we are looking for things to tell us we're not good enough. And I just want to, I think I've said this before, but I want to again add this piece of social comparison. Like, how is that useful for us? And Dr. Mi Jin, who you'll hear from in a second, actually shared with our group one time about, is comparison healthy? And we're thinking, well, I mean, sometimes it, pushes us to keep going. And it's like, wait a second, but either we compare ourselves and we don't measure up, or we compare ourselves and we're better than others. And either way, that doesn't feel great. So I'm wondering how we can use social media to to be encouraging and empower each other rather than compare. All right. So really quickly, we'll just kind of go into healthy ways to balance real life and social media. This is the important part, which is what I wanted today to be about: self-reflecting and understanding how these platforms are affecting relationships. So being really honest with ourselves. Am I using it to like numb out from something or avoid something? Or am I using it in a way that can create connection with people and enhance relationships? Really being mindful of what you post, comment on, or share on social media. There's a lot of people out there looking to get upset with others on social media. So sometimes, and once we put it out there on social media, we, even if we delete it, it doesn't always go back. It's in the clouds somewhere, which is such an interesting concept regarding social media. So I think being mindful of that is important. And sometimes setting a time limit and sticking to it, because sometimes we go down that black hole and all of a sudden it's 2 hours later and we have been scrolling on Instagram this entire time and probably not getting much out of it other than feeling a little bit bad sometimes, unless you're watching something, again, empowering, which I encourage you to do. And if we do tend to use social media platforms for connection, I think it's really important, in addition to that, to increase live communications with friends and partners, because oftentimes we misunderstand something that might be on social media or even over a text. And it's like, wait a second, let's actually talk in person or go to coffee or meet and talk about these situations rather than just assume we know what somebody's tone is over social media or over text, something like that. Unfollow any accounts that seem to make you feel bad about yourself and focus more on those that make you feel empowered. We all know the difference. We all know the difference. And again, this goes back to that self-reflection, though, of if we feel that we look at somebody's social media and we're feeling really like jealous, right? Kind of self-reflecting. Ooh, is that something that's coming up for me? And I really would love to be happy for this person. And I'm getting jealous because of something I've gone through, maybe a traumatic experience, things like that. That's where the self-reflection piece comes in. And if you do notice that happening, I encourage you to seek professional help. And because sometimes we can start to experience mental health challenges based on, looking at people's social media and maybe some of that self-esteem, problems with self-esteem coming up. And so again, if that is happening, or if your symptoms are being exacerbated by looking at social media and creating insecurity in relationships, I definitely would encourage you to speak with a mental health professional that can definitely help you with that. But again, I'm looking forward to talking with you guys a little bit in our discussion. And thank you for listening to this portion. And that is it for my section.
All righty. So thank you, Dr. Alyssa. Again, we're going to now move to our part 2 of today's seminar of social media and its effect on relationships. But we're going to look at it spiritually with the lens of the good news of Jesus. So we're going to invite Dr. Mi Jin Park for this section. Welcome, Dr. Mi Jin.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm very happy to be here today and talking about the social media. Again, as a mental health clinicians, I think I cannot deny how much of this social media it is affecting mental health and relationship, particularly, especially for our teens. Believe it or not, more than half of my time with my patients through my sessions, spending how to manage in this area. Particularly, I think that the recent years, maybe due to the pandemic, our parents are having a hard time to manage or guide a healthy way to use their electric devices, especially in a social media. Like Dr. Lisa mentioned, the social media is a positive and negative depending on how much time that you're spending on. But when our especially younger children who don't have full development on the delayed gratification yet, this can be huge challenges for them to how to manage or how to control the usage of their time. As Dr. Lisa mentioned during her talk, this is in a way to connect with others, right, in their relationship. So one of my patients this week was sharing that she's only 12 years old. And the Snapchat, I don't know exactly how it works because I don't have a Snapchat, but if you are not responding to your friends within the couple of minutes and a second, actually you are automatically almost disconnect with the group of your friends. So sometimes meaningless screenshot, like a black screen, they just have to post it in order for them to connect it. If there's no meaningful conversation, just the black screen, in a way that they are communicating with them. But if they don't, next day when they go to school, they are already missing out, and their group of friends are moving on to the next. So, hey, what's going on? Then they're saying, you didn't respond to the whatever the snapshot that they're doing it. So the group of friends are depending on how well you are connected or responded to those kind of things. So the relationship, this kind of a social anxiety is such a strong thing for our teens. And also research has shown recent time that our between 16 years old and the 25, highest number to commit suicide due to the depression and anxiety, also related to the social media, is increased dramatically, even is surpassing the number for what is it? A death from the car accidents, right? This is, again, is a huge topic and we don't have enough time to address it at all those things. But spiritually, let's just looking at it. Why in this generations we have such a hard time to control, even manage of this social media usage? And also think about it, the behind the meaning why we are constantly taking the picture and posting it, right? So one of the huge things that people are driving into is the highlight reels. If you can see the highlight reel, it is in a sports term. So in sports, it is the best and also is brightest moment that they are experiencing it, highlight reel. But that is something that what social media is constantly allowing or making all of us to do it. So Dr. Lisa also mentioned that the not about our life that we are engaged and associated with one another, but the moment of the best shot, right, is a one shot and then looking at posting it. So, but that is not presenting about our lives. So we don't know everybody's real life. So how relationship will connect it is a good and bad together, right? Vulnerability will bring the relationship stronger, but the social media is posting it. That's just the best moment of our lives, where the everybody's life. But that is also connected to the comparison. Again, Dr. Alyssa already mentioned that. I'm not gonna go too much, but constant comparison of ourselves with others. So internally, what's going on is constantly who is more superior, who is more inferior. So we needed to just meet up constant the measure of that comparison. And also one thing that we wanted to be very mindfully aware that social media is social currency. It's a currency when you're looking at it. Currency is a value, right? It's a value to something better or better services. Be aware that we became the product of those social media. How many of the likes, how many followers, and it will connect it to the product that they wanted to sell and buy off. And we became that. So economy attention is becoming you, right? So they will try the best effort to get your attention because it's directly related to the value of economy of those companies. So please be aware of that. And that directly also connected to our identity. All this, the social media is creating the not real life of who we are. It is more of the fake identity. I wanted it to become in some way, or that I wish that I can become in that way, rather than me becoming who we really are. So it is more of, rather than is a quality of who we are and character that we're building it. Now our identity to become and associated with quantifying the value. So let's just be aware of that. And we are becoming so obsessed because this economy attention is also allowing us to getting some attentions from that. And this one is closely related to, I think one of our participants was mentioning that today, is biological responses, the dopamine, right? So our brain is strongly connected to the dopamine, the pleasure seeking. And then this behind the social media making companies and the technology is knowing the craving for our dopamine alert. So each time there's a term related to this dopamine stimulants through the social media is a magic of what did I say? Magic of a maybe. There's a Dr. Robert Sapolsky at the Stanford actually study on this, right? So we're constantly checking the social media, checking the maybe, right? Whether I received the text or not, so we're needed to check. But once I get the notification like button or follow button, and then that stimulate the dopamine. At that moment of a magic of a maybe, when we are getting it, the 400% of the dopamine is spiking. That is actually more than the cocaine is connected to or responded to our frontal lobe and dopamine level. So that's why, especially for the younger children, we really needed to be careful since their brain is not fully developed. We needed to, parents out there who are worrying about it, so we needed to explain about this biological responses more correctly so that they can control or help and guide how to do that using or understanding about their dopamine and brain works. But why I mention all this research and the biological responses and all those things when we are talking about the spiritual, the portion of this, think about it, behind the meaning of why we are constantly doing this and seeking this and getting this dopamine level or pleasure seeking through the social media. Think about it. When you are doing the selfie and posting it, what are you looking for? You are looking for acceptance. You are looking for the meaning and significance, who you really are. But deep inside, we know that that is not me. Although that's something that we are seeking, but we're not getting it enough. That's what we're constantly doing it. But I wanted to mention it here. How can we, instead of the magic of a maybe, how can we gain power of a certainty that we are accepted? We are meaningful. We are significant enough without getting those like buttons and the followers, right? Deep inside, internally, not externally seeking the attention with the empty and void heart. But how can we reverse and fill our heart with the full acceptance and full meaning who we are and fully significant, so that we can be confident who we are in Christ, so that we can share the true meaning that what we can share with one another. Again, social media is creating these disconnections with one another. But think about it. How can we get that power of certainty and security who you really are? What if there's somebody who came to you, hey, I have all what you have, or what you want. I know that you are constantly seeking. I have a highest power. I have highest meaning, and I have greatest things. Everything that what you're looking for in life, I have it. And I want to give it to you. Let me take yours back to me. What if there's somebody can do it for you? How will that make you feel? What? Why would you want to do that? Why you want to take all the dirty, insecurity, incompetencies, and poor self, everything that what I have, ugly side of me, I don't want to post it on the social media. Why you wanted to take it? Would you want it to say that? Who in the world will say that I will give you best of mine to you? Let me take the ugly side of you for me. But actually, there's a historical events that actually happened. There's a person whose name is Jesus, claimed that I am a God, but I will become a human to take all inequity, all the ugly side of it, imperfection that you have on me, so I will die for you with that, so that you can gain all that I had in heaven. The Father, through me, will give it to you all. And Jesus said, just believe and follow me. Would you want to take it if somebody offered that? Just say yes and thank you. Isn't that what we all are looking for? To say thank you and receive it. Jesus said, take it all I have. I will take everything what you have. A Father in heaven will see only that what you receive through me. He will not see any ugly side of or incompetence that you have. And he said, now you are a new person. You don't have to seek for the meaning and significance. Why? Because somebody who loves you so much to the point where he want to die on behalf of you so you can be free. You are that meaningful. You are that significant. Somebody is willing to give away all they have so that you can have a freedom. Receive and then accept and believe it that now that you are accepted by the King. You are loved by someone who has all that what you are looking for. Not just like button, not just highlight reel that you're looking for the moment, but that Jesus, the God who knows every single part of your life, saying that I will accept that. And I love you. And not only that, he said, I will be with you. The certainty that what he has, not of a moment, but every day of your life, not only that, it will continue and you will have eternal life. But interesting is, for our social currency and this value of this culture, it's so hard to believe that it is free. But you know what? It's so valuable. It's priceless. He cannot put the price on it. You may want to ask, how much is it? I want to get it. I will save all my savings. I will give it to you if I can have it. But he said, it's priceless. It has to give your life for it. And he said, I will take it for your place. I will give my life for you. Just to receive it. It's a free gift for you. Today, I wanted to share this good news to all of you. It's not of a moment of dopamine that we needed to seek for, but the magic of a maybe is not that what you needed to seek for. The constancies, the power of a certainty that you are accepted, you are valued, and you have a new identity of being a child of God. Believe it, it's yours. Believe it, it's not about the performance that you needed to do something or a pose that you needed to post it on. But it is based on what Jesus has done for you on the cross. Bring the everything reset. You can live your life with that. Hope that today is not about the social media of this maybe, magic of a maybe that our brain is constantly going into, but believing that the power of a certainty is already given to you through Jesus Christ. Bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Mijin. Wow. Power of certainty versus the magic of maybe. For those of us who are joining live for the Zoom, I would recommend rewatching this and sharing it with your friends and family. So thank you again, Dr. Mijin, for that powerful word and encouraging us. It's not about the 1,000 and 2,000 like buttons, but of how much we are loved by our God in heaven. So before we engage in our group discussion, I just wanted to mention that our next Anchor of Hope will be on October 23rd, continuing in this series of relationships. And the topic next time would be cultural differences and maybe even language differences and how that can affect our relationships. And so